Hi, it's Tim from Toy Tinker Tim, and in this episode, I'm repairing and restoring an Ideal Toys Batman helmet from 1966. Batman toys were huge in the Christmas Wish book from 1966, so the huge explosion of Batman toys branched off from the Batman TV series from 1966 to 68 on the ABC network. Is based on the character created by Bob Kane and published by DC Comics. This iconic vintage toy started out in pretty rough shape when I received it. There's lots of scratches, cracks, and it's super dirty. And I'll show you the steps I took to repair and restore this vintage toy. This 1966 Ideal Toys Batman helmet has play wear and age conditions occurring throughout it. There's heavy scuffing and scratching in the plastic from play. There's surface marks, the cracking, dings, and dirt. Some kind of dark splatters on this in areas. But the good thing is there's not too much paint loss really on the helmet. This nose point, like so many of these helmets, has some damage. There's some heavy splitting and cracking going on there too. So in this repair and restoration, I'm focusing on surface wear, scuffs, cleaning, and mending the cracks. My first step will be cleaning the helmet, and this Dawn Power Wash does a great job of loosening and breaking down the grime, so I don't have to get very aggressive with the surface cleaning and risking additional damage or paint wear in the process. I'll just mist it into the surface and let it stand for a few minutes. And then after it's had a chance to sit and work, then I'll scrub it with a soft bristle toothbrush to work the surface clean. So the type of plastic these helmets were most likely made of is called HDPE, a high density polyethylene. So that HDPE plastic it's a tough plastic. It's somewhat flexible. It can be blow molded into various shapes. It's easy to work with. Think of the laundry detergent containers, the plastic jugs. That would be an example of the HDPE type plastics. I was kind of surprised. The inside is surprisingly pretty filthy too. So I guess it had a lot of adventures. After that, I just spray with my water bottle here to rinse it clean. My approach with this way of cleaning is to hopefully protect or prevent further cracking in the plastic from being too rough with this. And I just need to get it good and clean before I start any repairs. Freshly cleaned, it's already looking a lot better. So now using the spray cleaner in the process, same thing on the back of the Batman helmet. And then I'll scrub it down with a soft bristled toothbrush as well. So this is a wood sculpting tool that I'm using to scrape away the paint to prevent more damage to the plastic. These wood sculpting tools are made out of boxwood. They have enough strength to them to scrape away at that stubborn paint, but not get into too much surface damage into the plastic, causing more damage, trying to remove one form of damage here. The thickness of the plastic isn't uniform, which I'm sure has led to so many of these Batman helmets having the nose areas that are cracking. It molds out. It's very thin in that bridge and tip of the nose area. As I examine the helmet, I find not only the crack going center line over the nose, but also the side crease, which is cracked here as well. Then I'm also seeing the crack in the upper corner of the eye hole, the right eye area here. To address the scratches, I'm going to lightly sand the ridges with some 3000 grit. It's wet dry sandpaper, and some of that really rough spots, I'll probably mist it with a little bit of water as I'm sanding it as well. My goal with this sanding is to get that roughness off, but not perfectly smooth, because the plastic would lose this pebbly grain texture here that it was molded in with. So instead, I'm just wanting that really rough sharpness to these scratches worked out, so that there aren't any big areas with protrusions from those deep gouges in the plastic. I'm repeating the sanding on the ear tips here, just enough sanding to get rid of that roughness. There are some deep scratches to the surface. This helmet has definitely had a lot of fun adventures. I can see that from all the wear here. The crack here in the base of the helmet is pretty major, actually. It starts off as a horizontal crack, and then it starts to go vertical. The vertical crack starts to follow the sculpted in crease, and I'm afraid basically what's going to happen is that crack will just continue along that creased edge and spread, and just keep going further up the mask as it'll get worse. So I'm going to start here by using this adhesive type cement here. It's for PVC, ABS, PBT, a lot of different plastic types. And I'm applying this to the crack area from the inside of the helmet. I'm pretty sure this adhesive alone would not be enough to hold that crack. But what I'm using it for is just to close and hold this cracked area, using it as for its binding power. So that adhesive is just going to hold the cracked edges together. And while I take a more permanent way of, I'm going to be heating and melting the broken section, these seams here in the crack together. I'll be fusing that. So the way I'm using to fuse the plastic on that cracks is the freer elevator tool. and I'm heating that with a blowtorch. You could use an adjustable heat setting type wood burning tool for something like this as well. It's just something I don't have. But the little butane blowtorch and the Freer elevator tool is something I'm comfortable working with, and it's pretty versatile, so that's what I'll be using. So here you can see where I've heated up the tool with a blowtorch just a little bit at a time, and smoothing that using that flat curved smooth side, um, back and forth over the crack from the inside, which is melting over the surface so that the edges just join together. So heating the tool, but working over the cracked plastic area here multiple times in order to avoid overheating and possibly causing deep melt marks in the plastic. So after doing the melting, the fusing over the cracks, it's similar to how I smoothed out the rough spots on the outside of the helmet. I'll work over the melt marks on the inside so they are minimally seen. The rough texture of the plastic is really a positive for this type of repair, for it all to just blend in. This nose section is a high visibility type area for repair, and the plastic is a lot thinner. So more care and more patience is definitely required to get that shape back up so it looks decent. Now, with the repairs in place, the sanding, and then I did a quick wipe down of non-wax floor cleaner to bring up the luster of the worn plastic. And then let's take a look at some final views of this vintage Ideal Toys Batman helmet. So here we go, the final restored helmet. The sheen of fresh plastic is back. I applied a couple coats of no wax floor cleaner to the blue plastic areas of the helmet. The painted black areas are a dull coat on this helmet. I've seen some versions of these ideal Batman helmets where the paint color scheme is a shiny black as well. So at least there's two variations of a dull and a shiny look. There were a couple of small spots where the black paint was worn on the forehead here, and I touched that up using a dry brush technique and just a simple black acrylic paint. There's wear still visible, which is fine for me, for what I'm going for here. I'm not trying for a mint condition, never touched appearance. Just a nice, healthy looking vintage toy. The black paint here on the bat emblem has some wear on the edges, and maybe I'll touch it up at some other time, but for now, again, I just felt like for what I'm going for here, this is fine. A closer look here on the lower side of the helmet that had really deep scratches and staining being sanded down. It's cleaned up and quite well compared to the scratched, dirty, worn condition it was originally in. So whether or not you were a fan of that TV series of Batman, you can't deny that this cool Batman helmet from Ideal Toy is really neat. It's an awesome vintage toy item. Also taking a look here where the cracked edges were, that were heated up and welded together, sanded, and cleaned up. And then likewise, a closer look at the nose area where the crack and that split occurred in the tip and the bridge of the nose area, and the split along the edge of the cheek and nose where that repair was taking place at. The heavy worn ear tips here are cleaned up as well, using that 3000 grit wet dry sanding. Altogether, each of the individual areas and spots that were repaired and restored came together in the final overall look here, where it's a very nice vintage toy. This helmet was sold individually and boxed with a cape, with a vinyl cape. But even without the cape, it's a great display piece. So that's been my step and process here to repair and restore this vintage Ideal 1966 Batman helmet. These techniques, the plastic welding that I've gone through here, dealing with those cracks, you could apply to other plastic toys, vintage items that have had splitting and cracking as well. Just a way to try to address that. So hope you enjoyed the episode. Share it with fellow collectors, other people you think might benefit from some of these tips here that I've shared. Be sure to hit the subscribe, hit the like. Consider, if you haven't before, become a member of the YouTube Toy Tinker Tim channel. The behind the scenes members, you get some behind the scenes access to what I'm working on, projects, future things in the works, and just some other personal projects and things that I've got going on as well. As always, as well, thanks for watching.